Live is really what I would call a special live because it's all about you. And it's all about what you want. It's all about how to design your life and your business to be able to hit ultimate levels of success. I don't just mean with money, but I also mean with your happiness. I also mean with like people in your life that matter to you. And so first and foremost, I want to thank you for being somebody that watches these on demands. Every great thing has a start and a finish to it, and we will be changing the format and the structure of these lives. So some of you guys on the on-demand mastermind know that we're getting better. Does that make sense? Like things are gonna keep getting better. And so number one, I want you to write this down. It's not what I'm going to train today, but it's when you go to implement, you need to think about this, and it's kind of connected with changing structures right now. So number one, obviously, I'm a really big fan. It's not even just a really big fan. I think it's critically important for you to build an influenced audience of people. Does that make sense? You guys put yes in the chat if it does. Why? Because things are changing so fast out in the world. And I even said to my team, I reminded my team today on a meeting, I was like, guys, don't forget that I tell you to build lists too. Whether or not you want to be an entrepreneur or not, you need to build influence lists too, because even if you don't want to create a product or service, you could help some other entrepreneur in the world get to a greater level of success. And you might say, well, why would I dedicate my life to that? Well, because generous people win. And if I go and promote somebody who is good at what they do and I do a good job bringing people, then I would make money on an affiliate commission. Am I right or am I right? So there's nothing that says that you have to create a whole nother job for yourself if you don't want to. You could be a professional lifter upper, a professional affiliate person, right? You could literally make insane amounts of money and literally build audiences and sell other people's products and make incredible money. Now, if you sell people's products that can't sell and are not strong leaders, then you're not going to make any money. It's pretty simple. Does that make sense? So I was even saying that to our team. So number one, this is not the training for today because I'm going to show you how to make sure you don't miss your life or regret your life. Okay, but this is an important execution thing. Number one, it's really important that you build influence lists. I know I say it, I got to say it again and again and again because people get distracted by being busy. Y'all, this is the wave of the future. I know we're all talking about AI. AI is really important, but if you want to be relevant with AI coming in, you better have an influence list. Mark my words, okay? Number two is you need to have a structure to your day and your business. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this for a second. This is part of today's training, this part. Okay, number one, if you got a pen and paper right now, and if you are on the on-demand mastermind with me, please put your video on, right? It makes a really big difference. I just did a List Power Intensive training, and it was the first training I've ever done in my entire life that everybody had their video on. I am certain that group of people are going to rock. I am certain about it. Like I'm praying over these people, like they've got my attention. Because I've never seen people actually care about themselves enough and understand personal branding. Personal branding is the way I show up, is who I am. And not having my video on is not great personal branding. Does that make sense? Yes, but yes. I want to tell you something. In the last 7 years, I've not had my video on once. Once. And I know exactly why. Okay, so there is that once. That's exactly why you shouldn't have it on. But it's not because my kid's around. It's not because I'm driving. It's not because of any of that. It's actually because of something very personal that I didn't have it on. So I know the once is out there, but the majority of you, it's just because it's actually a lag. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm not gonna give you poo-poo today. So I'm gonna get back to the train. So structure to your day. So some of you guys may or may not know this. I have a very strong structure to my day. In fact, we do have a store on this now, by the way. I don't know the link though, sorry. We have something called Runway Journals. And these are how I literally run my life. Does that make sense? Like I run my entire life on these Runway Journals. And I'll explain this with structure. What I found over all the years is, here, I'll take a blank page. What I found over all the years is that there's something called priority focus time. See that priority focus? So I have 3 top priorities, and so do you, by the way. I have 3 top priorities that are important to me, okay? One of them that is current for me, sometimes it's all business, sometimes it's business and personal, right? If your personal life goes to shit in a handbasket, your business often will too. It just will. Okay, so when I've been coaching for a long time, and when I hear an entrepreneur burning out, I just go look in their personal life. What's happening in there? Let me see. You know what I mean? And it's things like you're not spending time with your kids, you're not spending time with your grandkids, you're missing somebody in your life, you're single and you want to be married, or you're married and you want to be single. Just kidding, right? And so there's something that you feel like is missing in your personal life, and so it kills your energy in your business. Do you understand that? So, like for one of mine right now, I'm showing you a blank form. One of mine right now is connected with, I want to create a certain result for my clients in their mastermind this week, right? So, like I had another meeting with our team today, just running through what does success look like for them, right? How are we running the energy of the event? How are we taking care of them? How are they going to feel at the event? All of that type of stuff. But another one of my top priorities is not work. It's my son. Right? And so I know I'm going into, but this isn't even just this week. This is a busy week. Last week was a busy week. And then everything else was pretty standard of how I run my life. But with last week and this week, I feel like, my son gets me, but he doesn't. Does that make sense? Like, and some of you guys work harder than me, for real, like time-wise. And this changes the structure. Structure changes how much money you make when you buy a home. Structure changes how much money you make in your own business. Structure, everybody thinks it's a how-to thing. It's not, it's a structure thing. Structure will allow you to have a life or not. It's not your workload. And what people do often is they take things off their to-do list because they have poor structure. Does that make sense? So I'm always looking for structure people in my life that know more than me, and I drive my desire. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. My desire. Or another way of saying that is, what do I want? Okay, so what I want, what you want, sometimes it's heavy on personal, and sometimes it's heavy on business. What's really important to realize if you're going to be successful this year is it's not an either or. Like, I don't get to just stop working with my clients because I've got a personal breakdown. It doesn't work that way. I have to figure out in my structure, is there somebody else training something? Like, is there, like, for instance, on these on-demands, the number one thing we've heard on these on-demands is I feel bad that I can't be there for every single one. Okay, so a bunch of people signed up to be on our Zoom. They became our members of the on-demand mastermind. And the number one reason why people have left. So some of you guys are like, you freak out when people leave. Don't freak out when people leave. If you're on a sales call, don't be like, nobody's saying yes, or nobody has money, or nobody. No. You are not listening. Does that make sense? So you need to hold on to what you want and what your desire is for your personal life and your business. And you must be relentless on that. Because if you give any space for fear to come in, it's coming. Does that make sense? You hear me? It's coming. And then what I see people do all the time is I either got to choose my business or my personal life. And women, you do this a lot, and men, you do this a lot when you're single. I'm going to go build my business before I get married or before I get in a serious relationship. Who gave you that advice? It's like the worst thing in the world. Why wouldn't you want to grow with somebody so you have more history? More history means more intimacy, which can equate to a stronger bond if you're not a jerk off. Does that make sense? If you're a good human being and you learn good communication skills. Example, get a text message from my stepmother today. And she sends me a text message and she says, I got a formal email from you last night, or your email last night was very formal. I guess you're busy. I know you might not have a trigger to that, but I do. And the reason why I do is because when she sends me messages, it's always about, you're too busy to pick up the phone. You're too busy this, right? Meanwhile, I'm off every weekend and I'm off the last week of every month. And I've told her that forever, right? And I'm like, just text me and I'll let you know and I'll call you back that day, right? And so my formal email to her, see what I'm doing is explaining myself now. But I'm trying to give you context because I'll show you how I rose up to the occasion. But she was in Portugal. She's in Portugal right now. And so vacationing. And so I called her 5 times and I couldn't get through to her phone. And so I shot her an email last night, right? And we're heading to Barbados. And I've got some people who purchased having a dinner with me and my friends in Barbados. And so I need a caterer in Barbados. Does that make sense? And so I shot her a quick message that very much was business and not personal. But if I would have gotten her on the phone, it would have been a lot more personable. Does that make sense, you guys? But I own the trigger. I want you to pay attention to where your trigger is right now. I own the trigger. So when she called me back this morning, I said, hey, I want to share something with you. I said, I own this. This is about me. Okay, you guys, the reason why I'm modeling this is if you don't do this in your triggers, you will lose a lot of ground in both your personal life and your business. So I said, you start with edification. You guys who are in List Power Intensive, I taught you this on the video, the 2-minute video for your opt-in pages. You got to start with a hook or edification. So no different in my personal life. If I don't want things to take a really long time with a 2-hour conversation with my stepmom that has us both in the weeds about our feelings, I need to manage that. So I called her and she called me and I said, hey, I own this trigger. Every time you tell me I'm busy, I know it's not you, but it's me and it feels like a dig. And I am busy. Now I go to proof of concept. She used to be a flight attendant. So I said, imagine if I called or text messaged you when your what are they called? What are the people who get on? They're not patients. What are they? When we go flying, we're whatever. The people getting on the plane, right? Like, so I go, people are loading onto the plane. Passengers. Thank you, Keith. Thank you. So the passengers are getting on the plane. And I call you or I send you a text, you don't have time to be cozy with me, right? Like the passengers are getting on. She goes, yeah, I totally understand that. I said, I'm like that all day till 4:30 in the afternoon, all day. And I'm up, like I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, right? Like I'm up, I'm going. So I said, when I got up this morning, one of my priorities is the mastermind. The other priority is actually my son. And I want to make sure that I stay connected to him. So I want you to start thinking about your 3 priorities right now. Right? And give yourself permission, because if I'm not connected to my son, I really see it. I would really see it because I stay connected to him. I would really see it in my business effort. Does that make sense? Like it would really affect me. And the longer that went, you start to say things like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it is a poor excuse for responsibility of not saying, you know what, I need to change the structure of my life and I need to do it today. So I signed Zach up for a YouTube training and it's at 7 a.m., which I love. He might not love, but I love it at 7 a.m. And so we got on today with his coach for 30 minutes and we trained on YouTube. I actually learned a lot of good stuff, right, from his coach. And so we sat there, and then afterwards we did a meeting, just like we would do in my team. After we have an idea about something, we have a meeting on the idea, what worked, what didn't. Does that make sense? My husband and I do this too. What worked this week, what didn't? A lot of people don't want to talk about what didn't work. Does that make sense? You have to know what didn't work. What doesn't work about me going live every single day, 3 weeks of the month, based on our client base on the On-Demand Mastermind, is that it's too much. They love the touching base every single day, but they're not able to implement. Does that make sense, you guys? Put yes in the chat, right? Or no, right? But that's the feedback we got, was people were like, oh my God, I love kind of touching base with you every day, but I can't implement that fast. And so I go back to structure. Does that make sense? Because I have a desire and a vision to build a very, very big membership of people that I am hooking up and that know me and I know them. And I think that's the safest game I can play for my personal life and my business life. And I also think it's yours. That's how we're going to teach this at the mastermind. Does that make sense? Put yes if you understand what I'm saying. So I have to change the structure. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be going live 1 day a month, and then I'm putting pocket coaching throughout the week to actually help people implement what we're teaching. Does that make sense? Do you guys get that? So now there's accountability. I can help manage people's mind, and I can help them by Friday have a deliverable, a result. I never would have gotten good at the structure if I wouldn't have tried and gone out there and had a heart to serve. Does that make sense, you guys? So now go back to my stepmom. She says to me, I say, so I get triggered. So some of you guys get triggered when you have a sales call and they don't buy. You get triggered when somebody gives you an opportunity to speak on a stage and you don't feel ready, right? You get triggered because you don't feel ready. You get triggered because there's not enough money. You get triggered because you don't have a supportive partner in your life. You get triggered because you're a single parent, like you get triggered. And you've got to get through the trigger fast. Okay, that's good leadership. So you rip the Band-Aid off and you go have the conversation. So I get on the phone with her. I tell her that I'm triggered when she says that. I give her an example that's relevant to her life so she understands it. It's not good enough to communicate an offer. It's not good enough to communicate your needs, your desires. You must land the ship where people understand what you're trying to say in their language. So when I talk to my son about goals, I talk to him right now about getting a gaming chair, right? Like all the other YouTubers have a gaming chair. How would you like to be polite, finish all your goals, do your 30-minute workout every day, 7 days a week, and hold that for 60 days and you get a gamer's chair? But Mom, that's too long. I know, but the stronger you get in creating that and walking through your trigger, Zach, and staying committed, even if the goal seems big or it's taking too long, the more successful you will be in life. And Zach reminds me every week he's going to be a trillionaire because he wants to feed everybody who doesn't have food. I don't know about you, but I can see a great famine coming. And I love the fact that my son has an instinct that something's coming and he wants to be a part of the solution. He might not have it wired that way, but I can see it in him. So I tell him all the time, you're probably going to be just like Elon Musk, but you're going to be married. You're going to be happily married, and your wife's going to support you, and you're going to be an incredible husband. And I make him walk his homeschool teacher to the door and say goodbye. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, why? I'm teaching him charisma, I'm teaching him patience, I'm teaching him politeness, and he's a very loud child, right? Like he doesn't talk normal. He says, "Hey, Mom," and the whole house hears it, right? Like everybody wants to quiet him down. But if we quiet him down, he doesn't become an Elon Musk. Does that make sense? We teach him. How do you land your communication and keep your boldness, keep your energy, keep all of that? Do you guys get what I'm saying? So I will like to tell you that my stepmother and I have now made a decision that twice a month we have a scheduled call on the books. And the trigger she has with me being busy or being formal, and she's had it with many people in her life, is that she doesn't feel important. And so do you think I want to make her not feel important? Absolutely not. Do you think I want my clients to feel like it's too much with me going live every single day? Not at all. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, it's really important to understand that there are two sides to every story with your buyer's base, with your family, and it's really critical for you to understand where you are at emotionally. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying now? So what I do is I pull three things. I've got my mastermind right now with my clients. I've got my son right now. And as of literally just in the last week, my marriage has come up to the front. Why? Because there's some pieces that we feel stressed on right now that we need to be closer. Are you guys, like, I'm just trying to be real with you. Do you know what I mean? And so we've run a 9, 10 out of 10 for a long time. And now there's just a few things that are getting a little bit complicated that we need more time in the seat together. And so now I get intentional about that. So funny enough, I'm sitting in a position right now where I got 2 personal, 1 business. Does that make sense? I will tell you by the time Barbados is done, because we're taking out to Barbados, I will probably not have my son and my husband on my 3 priorities because we'll all be filled up. Does that make sense, you guys? Yes? You got it? Yes? Okay, so I want you to take a moment right now and I want you to schedule or just write down, in all honesty, what are the 3 most important things going on in your life right now? What are the things that you know it's just important? Like they're honestly important to you. Write those down. So remember, I got my husband. My husband's not normally on, he hasn't been on a prime priority for a long time. But my husband, my son, and then I have my clients are on the top of my list right now, right? All intimacy, actually, because those are probably the 3 closest people to me, is that whole kind of group. So intimacy is being called out of me. How do I get more intimate with these areas? Same with you, whatever those 3 things are. Okay? Now you got to put structure around it, because that really is your desire to have those things handled, right? So I love that some of you guys are going in the chat. Go in the chat and just post, what are your 3 things? I think that's really a great thing to do. Jeff, you too. Dr. Jeff, right? Ingo. So go in the chat and post, what are your 3 things, right? What are the 3 things that are your 3 top priorities right now? Relationship with God, serving existing clients, with excellent, welcome 25 new clients to DSC per month. Awesome. Business, health, relationships. Okay, but what specifically in business? What specifically in health? Does that make sense? So that's where structure comes in. So structure-wise, let me go on the next page. This is how you grow your bandwidth, by the way. For you guys who feel like you don't have a good bandwidth on things, or you need more of a bandwidth, or maybe you need more passion or more energy, or maybe you just need more space, right? So structure, and this is not something I have never had anybody walk me through this other than teaching me how to grow wealth. Okay, you buy a home, seller finance, smart structure, right? You buy life insurance policies with the right structure, smart structure. A lot of people don't know how to do that, right? We have the #1 life insurance person in the world here. But guess who he only works with? High net worth people. And guess how many fees there are? None. What happens to the people who are lower income brackets? They pay, no, it's not Chris Nagel, not even close. He's awesome, but no, not even close. And so smaller incomes pay for the bulk of every fee out there. You got to get out of the retail game. And you got to get the right structures underneath you. That's what creates wealth. But it starts with your family, and it starts with your calendar, and it starts with what you focus on. And once you manage your emotions, you have the bandwidth to go to the next level. Okay? I want you all to do this today. Okay? Like, this could be one of the best years of your life if you get this one live, and you literally put a meeting on your books every month with yourself, or maybe with yourself and somebody else, to help you with structure. How do I structure my day better? How do I structure my to-do list better? I hate to-do lists. How do I structure my priorities better? Because everything is not a priority, even though it feels like it. Does that make sense? Everything's not a priority, even though it feels like it. So, and you can get a heck of a lot more done if you do this right. So structure, think about my 3 for a second. So you got my son. So this doesn't need to be an 8-hour day or stress. This is 2 times a week at 7 a.m. I'm with a YouTube coach with him. When I asked Zach this morning, by the way, I'm learning, which is really awesome. I asked Zach this morning after our 30-minute session with the YouTube coach. By the way, ladies, that's on Outsource or Outschool. Or gentlemen, if you have kids, Outschool is a great video school for kids for homeschool, and you can get any product services you can think of that your kid might be interested in. So 30 minutes with them this morning, then I did debrief. What worked? Zach, you always start with edification. What worked? What worked with this coach? Way better than last week's coach. Awesome. So we're in. What worked with mommy doing this with you? And he said, well, I just appreciate the fact that you're doing this with me and sitting with me. That's what's important to him, sitting with him. Okay? And I'm like, awesome. What didn't work? He said, what didn't work, Mom, was you telling me to be quiet. I was like, okay, like so badly I wanted to correct him, but like, you gotta listen to your teacher, not talk over your teacher. I'm like, but I was like, okay, great. So now I know I have to ground with him before we go into the next meeting. I have to ground listening. I have to ground goals. I got to ground his motivation. So we work as a team. Does that make sense? And so get what I'm saying? Are you guys hearing me here? So I schedule that. This is basically 2 hours a week. I wouldn't even say it's 2 hours because 30-minute class and about 10, 15 minutes of him and I talking afterwards. And that's it. Does that make sense? Now, you might hear, that's it, like I want more. No, I feel very, very connected to him right now. And he feels very, very connected to me based on results. He was all over me, sitting on my lap, showing me other videos. You get what I'm saying? Like really connected. So check, structure's done. I don't have to feel guilty or feel bad because I've got that structure. That commitment is in my calendar for the next 8 weeks. Okay, we're going on vacation. It's still in my calendar. I'm still doing it with him. I don't drop him because it's in the calendar and I'm committed to the course. That is something outside my willpower. Are you guys hearing what I'm saying? Like it's outside my willpower. If I just say I'm going to meet with Zach twice a week, I will not do it. Something else will get in the way because he's 9 years old and he's not going to hold me accountable to that. He would love me to leave him alone with YouTube or an iPad, which he doesn't get until 3 o'clock. But he would love that. If I could be a disconnected parent that is operating off willpower, I will be in trouble. By the way, my marriage, 2 times a week, we meet at 9:30 a.m. Okay, 2 times a week, Monday and Friday. Check, done. It's a structure. If I leave this to willpower, we don't go on dates. We don't like, I know I'm not the only person. Do you know what I mean? But if it's not scheduled, it's not happening. So what about now my client's mastermind? I have definitely 2 meetings a week on this that are already set, and then a scorecard on what success looks like. Okay, this is in check. Plus, this week I have 2 bonus days scheduled at my house, and then I have 2 days in San Juan, Puerto Rico with my clients scheduled. It's on the calendar. Does that make sense? I have all the curriculums done, all of the formatting's done. I think all the slides are done from what they said today. I haven't seen them, but I think all that's done. So this is done. So what do I feel now? Space. I feel space. I feel like everything's working. So now, June 21st, while we're doing this right now, or May 21st, what's going to happen in June? What are my 3 priorities? It's not going to be my son. Because now the way structure works is this is going for 8 weeks. I don't have to focus on that anymore. It's in my calendar. It's done. This, it's done. There's our formatting. Until it doesn't work, until it breaks, my life grows to the next level. It works. I don't know how long that will go, but what I can tell you is after those next weeks, there'll be another course. To keep building on this, because I don't believe in trial and error. I think it's about the dumbest way you could ever grow a life. I really do. I'll be a little bit more empathetic. I have one child that I grew with some help of parenting coaches, and then I trial and errored it for a while. And it became a bit of a hot mess because there's no training manual, but there are mamas and dadas out there who have raised a lot more kids than me and understand the game plan. They already worked it out for me. Why would I not collapse their information and have a better generation child than even them, because they pour into me and then we pour into somebody else and then we pour into somebody else. Does that make sense, you guys? Like, that's mentorship. I don't grow on trial and error. My life is too important. That's why I want my son to get right off the bat, you got to be a good receiver, not just a good giver. Does that make sense? You got to get help. But these two things in structure work. Now, the mastermind will be over. We will debrief the mastermind, what worked, what didn't, and we will put it into play for our clients' mastermind in Palm Springs at the end of the year. Does that make sense, you guys? So next month, I can already tell you, I have a good inclination on what's coming next month in structure. I have a 2-week challenge that I'm doing with a really powerful friend of mine around health and wealth. Right? The entire month is going on that. Even while I'm on vacation in Barbados, I will be getting up before all my friends and I will be going into the office and I will be doing something called priority focus time. And I will be focusing on that. Does that make sense? I will be doing either an hour to 2 hours, depending on what's needed of me, really depending on people getting up. If people are getting up and going to breakfast, I will get up even earlier. Does that make sense? I will do it before anybody in the house gets up, because guess what? This is my dream. And this is my vision. And I don't need a break from it. I'm going to spend however many hours in Barbados when everybody gets up at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. I will spend a ton of time catamaran riding. We have 2 catamarans set up. We got banana boats that go out in front of our house. The ocean crashes in the pool. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have a lot of down fun time. But before the fun starts, I will be in that office and I'll be working. Why? Because I've got goals that excite me. I'm not working things. I'm so excited to put wealth and health together. Like, I'm so excited to work with my friend Jonathan Odo. He's excited, I'm excited. Our teams are excited. We're super excited. And I know it's going to be an incredible 2-week challenge for people. I don't need a break from that. It doesn't feel like a pain in the ass to go do that work. Does that make sense, you guys? Put yes if you understand that, right? So I share this with you because the desire to need a break, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a break. I have lots of structured breaks. But when your priorities mean enough to you, you could have a priority, like maybe you're sick and you have a priority to detox, or you have a priority to, drink X amount of water, do like hydrogen, go do a 3-week detox at some spa or maybe at your house. I don't know. But like that's a priority. Does that make sense? So sometimes recovery is a priority. But I will tell you that life is stressful. I know you know this. And the structure is what allows you to still walk through hard times and not quit on yourself. So here's my homework for you. My homework for you, because we won't be going live for the rest of the week. My homework for you is to literally look at what your 3 priorities are this month. Right? Look at and finish this month and put an appointment for yourself on May 30th to literally map out your 3 priorities for the next month. And then do this structure exercise. Just write the word structure on a piece of paper and say, what structure? It's always simple. What structure do I need to put in place to support myself? Connection is currency. 2 meetings a week with my team, 2 meetings a week with my husband, 2 meetings a week with my son. Okay, so I'm leading that. Why? Because that's what I need to be connected and do a good job. What do you need? How much do you need to connect to be able to do a good job? Now, a great way of using this is, now I can get better. Tuesday's coach and Friday's coach, we could have deliverables on what success would look like by the time we meet again Friday. my husband and I could do deliverables Monday. What would it look like this week if we had a 10 out of 10 marriage, a 10 out of 10 being founders of companies, a 10 out of 10 parents? What would it look like to be 10 out of 10 by Friday? Boom, boom, boom. Now we know what each other are. Check in on Friday. Here's what we said. Boom, boom, boom. Did we hit it? No. What happened? Probably didn't have it up on a wall. Wasn't up on the fridge because we all go to the fridge every day. He doesn't drink coffee, very rarely, so it wouldn't matter if it was at the coffee station. But you get what I'm saying? Like, it's just a break in connection. And that connection is another structure piece. How are you communicating to yourself so you're not operating off willpower? So my great friend Ben Hardy wrote a book around willpower. It's incredible. You should go look it up. I think he says willpower doesn't work. I think that's what it's called, or something close to that. His name is Ben Hardy. Great book around, he's studied willpower. And I'm going to tell you, some of you guys are doing great in your life right now, and you're coasting. And I would be careful with that, because it means you're off your edge. And we're in a shift in the economy and in the world right now with artificial intelligence that you better get on your edge. You guys are meant to be live in 1%. It's your mastermind. We're going to show you how to create products in an hour. We're actually going to do it. Why are we going to do that? Because as we're walking into, let's call it the new world, as we're walking into the new world, and I'm talking in the next 6 months to a year and a half, some of you guys, it's going to be sooner than later, your products and services are going to be irrelevant. And so you're going to need to take that list I talked about. That's so freaking important that some people are still telling me they don't feel like doing or don't like it. You're causing yourself a future that is challenging, not the world. It's our decisions, okay? This, you're gonna have to go back in and create new products. Now, if you would have told me that 5 years ago, I would have told you to pick one product, 10 years ago, 14 years ago. Pick one product, train that product, keep that product, whatever. Run that product forever with new audiences, cross-sell other like products. I believe that we will be in the business of cross-selling, which means that our audiences are not going to have a certain need for some of our products and services. I think right now is an incredible time to be in a mastermind like ours. And the reason why is because we're staying on top of it. So as our products and services go irrelevant, we're going to need to pop up products that our list tells us they want. What is our list? Desires. So the last thing I'll say on this is all about connection. And connection is 100% currency. And so the more connected you are to your email and text message lists, think about it. Instagram right now is talking about moving it to a paid platform. Okay? TikTok may be shut down. Okay? You guys get it? We don't own these platforms and none of us can be mad about it. I did all this work and created all these followers and I was like, I don't want to tell you. That's like dating somebody that told you they wanted to sleep around and you pretended like you didn't hear that. Like, you don't have the control. When somebody gives you something for free and you're not paying for it, it's not yours. You don't own it. And you don't have any right over it. Does that make sense? And so we volunteered, all of us, to go build the platforms for the founders, the shareholders, and we gained value from it. Did we not? Some of us made money with it. Some of us stopped being the lonely child in the corner of the room and we got connection through it. Some of us have teenagers that were dealing with some big problems now that they were connected to social. And so we're having to get more invested in our children and be better parents again, right? With every bad side, there's a good side, right? And so, but the truth is the one thing we can all guarantee is happening is change. And it's been changing at a rapid pace. So we believe that you're going to need to pop out new products at a rapid pace. That's why we're teaching people how to do products in an hour with my friend Terrence, right? With AI, which you guys can think about instead of worried about AI taking you over, think about it actually helping you out and taking things off your plate. Does that make sense? Think of it taking things, it's going to take things off your plate. And it's going to give you more bandwidth to think about what more do I really want to do? And if you can think about it like that and gain the skill to think like that, It actually requires an abundant mindset versus somebody who notices everything that goes wrong. Okay, so now we got a leadership conversation and we have a product development challenge. The question is, are you preparing yourself and building yourself your list? Like, is it a main priority on your list? See, I don't have to put it on my list anymore. I build my list every month, every week. I build my list. Every month, I build my list. Just like I don't have to put my son's courses on unless that structure fails, but my intention is to always have a course now. That's my intention. To always have a course now. It's not realistic to say that would be the rest of his life until he leaves, but how amazing would it be if my son was 30 years old and we're still doing a course together because we started when he was young. Now my vision starts to grow. Now my value starts to grow. Now my why starts to grow. Now I don't need as much discipline because my vision makes it valuable to keep in my schedule. That's structure, my friends. And so I know people think that it's like, how do I keep up with all of this stuff? I'm telling you, you don't need to. Because once you start putting things that you value in your calendar and it's a commitment, it becomes a non-negotiable, and other things, if they don't fit in your calendar, you just don't do them. Does that make sense, you guys? So I'll end on this. If you are meant to be live or the mastermind, whatever you do, hear my words, hand on a Bible. I cannot replicate the mastermind that we're doing. I cannot replicate it. The only reason why it's happening the way it's happening is because of proximity to the people who are in these neighborhoods. That's why it's happening. These people are not getting on planes and coming to Palm Springs. It's not happening. Not without a massive investment financially on my side. Okay, it's not happening. So if you're meant to be live in 1% and you're debating coming to your mastermind, I'm telling you something. You want to be at your mastermind because it's the right time. I will record it for you guys, but I'm telling you, being able to ask questions and being able to work with the people that we're bringing into the room, I cannot replicate it. Some of these people make multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. Some of these people make 7 figures a day. One of these people just made $45 million like just 2 months ago in a month. Okay, like I can't replicate these things. Okay, and they have their desires in check. Some of them is dropping off their children and making sure that they never have a nanny or anybody drop off their children so that they're there to pick them up and drop them off. Some of them, it's traveling around the world. That's Richard Yu. He's always traveling nonstop. It's wild that he's even here in this moment to be able to do this. My point is that when you have a goal, a priority to grow a business, the thing that you need to keep in that priority is a follow through of completing what you start. So, social media, it's been fun. I'll see you on the lives, but we will not be going live for the rest of this week. So we can turn off social media. So much love to you guys. I'll see you soon. And then you guys on Zoom.